The true story of what happened that day would remain buried in classified files for almost 30 years. The damage was so severe that veteran NASA engineers who inspected the shuttle after landing could scarcely believe the crew had made it back alive. Yet instead of becoming a celebrated survival story, STS-27's brush with catastrophe vanished into the classified shadows of the American space program. When Atlantis rolled to a stop at Edwards Air Force Base, engineers approached the spacecraft and were met with a shocking sight. The thermal protection system had sustained unprecedented damage. Entire sections of tiles missing, others hanging precariously, and most alarmingly, an exposed section of the orbiter's aluminum airframe in a critical area. This was precisely the vulnerability that could trigger catastrophic failure during reentry. The inspection team's photographs and reports vanished immediately into secure government facilities. Unlike standard missions where damage assessments would be discussed openly, every STS-27 document was stamped classified and restricted from public view. The damage pattern told a sobering story. The compromised thermal protection system extended from beyond the reinforced carbon-carbon nose cap along the entire belly of the spacecraft, stopping just short of the wing leading edges, the very area that would later prove fatal for Columbia in 2003. The aft maneuvering pods showed 14 separate impacts, with the starboard rudder speed brake repeatedly struck by debris. Standing before the damaged orbiter, astronauts, engineers, and NASA Administrator Jim Fletcher recognized a sobering truth. As one engineer later remarked, the Gibson crew had cheated death by a hair's breadth. What saved Atlantis was a steel plate, not designed as thermal protection, but merely an attachment point for payload bay equipment that happened to be positioned perfectly to prevent burn-through of the aluminum frame. NASA established a thermal protection system damage review team chaired by John Thomas and Jay Honeycutt, with astronaut Don McMonagle serving on its panel. Their investigation traced the root cause to a seemingly minor modification in the manufacturing process of materials used in the solid rocket boosters. This discovery embodied what Gibson's crew would later describe as the primary maxim of engineering. Better is the enemy of good enough. The investigation concluded in early 1989, but findings remained hidden within classified channels. Repairs to Atlantis required replacing hundreds of thermal protection tiles and carefully examining the exposed aluminum structure for heat damage. This work proceeded behind closed doors, with specialized technicians working under security protocols typically reserved for military aircraft maintenance. The classification created a dangerous information gap within NASA itself. Engineers implemented new inspection protocols and modified pre-launch procedures across the shuttle fleet without revealing the incident that necessitated them. Critical safety knowledge existed, but couldn't be fully shared within the engineering community. Secrecy extended beyond technical aspects to include basic mission details. The crew couldn't reveal even fundamental facts about their experience for 5 years after the mission. This extraordinary level of secrecy protected the sophisticated radar imaging surveillance satellite payload, considered vital to national security intelligence operations. The compartmentalization of information would later be identified as a contributing factor to NASA's organizational problems in the Columbia Accident Investigation Board's report. Without open discussion of the near disaster, safety lessons couldn't be fully integrated into NASA's culture. Only those with appropriate security clearances knew what actually happened to Atlantis. For decades, the true story remained hidden. While certain modifications were implemented across the shuttle fleet, the context behind these changes remained obscured for most NASA employees. This created a situation where technicians implemented critical safety improvements without understanding their urgency. The first public photographs showing the extent of the damage weren't released until long after the mission, when classification began to expire. The secrecy persisted partly because the reconnaissance satellite deployed represented technology whose capabilities remained sensitive long after the satellite itself had been replaced. Additionally, the near loss raised uncomfortable questions about risk assessment. NASA had proceeded with reentry despite knowing about significant damage, a decision that proved fortunate but could have ended in disaster. This decision-making process, especially in a classified military mission context, created precedents agencies preferred to keep from public scrutiny. The parallels between STS-27 and the later Columbia disaster are striking. Both involved thermal protection damage during launch, disagreements between engineers and management about damage severity, and difficult decisions about uncertain risks. The key difference was outcome. Atlantis survived, while Columbia did not. These parallels make the long classification of STS-27 all the more significant, as earlier transparency might have influenced later safety decisions. From military secrets to civilian technology, despite the classification barriers separating military and civilian domains, the technology developed for these covert missions didn't remain confined to government vaults. The revolutionary innovations born from Cold War space espionage fundamentally shaped modern technology in ways few could have imagined at the time. The intense competition in space during the Cold War, driven primarily by military reconnaissance needs, created a technological pressure cooker. Military necessities demanded solutions to complex problems: how to photograph enemy installations from space with incredible detail, how to precisely locate targets anywhere on Earth, how to process massive amounts of visual data quickly. These challenges required breakthrough innovations that would eventually transform civilian life. The smartphone in your pocket contains multiple technologies that trace their lineage directly back to classified space operations. What was once the exclusive domain of intelligence agencies now serves as the lens in your pocket, the navigation system in your car, and the processing power in your hand. This transformation represents one of the most significant technology transfers from military to civilian applications in modern history. Consider digital imaging technology. The sophisticated cameras in today's smartphones evolved from systems originally designed for spy satellites. The KH-7 Gambit, KH-8 Gambit 3, and KH-9 hexagon reconnaissance satellites drove the development of advanced imaging technologies that could capture incredibly detailed photographs from space. These systems photographed Soviet military installations with enough resolution to identify specific vehicles and equipment. The KH-9 hexagon carried an astonishing 60 miles of high-resolution photographic film. Its twin optical bar panoramic mirror cameras rotated to capture sweeping views of terrain below. Engineers pioneered image processing techniques to enhance these photographs, extract information, and analyze visual data. Those same fundamental technologies now power the camera in your smartphone, allowing you to capture high-quality images with a device that fits in your pocket. This technological evolution occurred through a careful declassification process, with military innovations gradually finding their way into commercial applications. The image processing algorithms developed for analyzing reconnaissance imagery now enhance your smartphone photos automatically, improving clarity and extracting visual information in real time. Perhaps the most transformative example is the Global Positioning System. GPS began as a strictly military asset, designed during the Cold War for precise navigation and targeting. The ability to pinpoint locations anywhere on Earth with extreme precision provided a strategic advantage for military operations. Today, nearly 6 billion users worldwide rely on GPS technology through their smartphones, vehicles, and other devices. The surveillance tool of yesterday has become the foundation for countless civilian applications, for navigation apps that guide you through unfamiliar cities to fitness trackers that map your running routes. GPS has become so deeply integrated into daily life that most users never consider its origins as a military positioning system for reconnaissance and weapon targeting. The sophisticated image processing technology pioneered for reconnaissance satellites has applications far beyond photography. The algorithms developed to enhance satellite imagery now help doctors analyze X-rays, MRIs, and other diagnostic imagery with greater accuracy. Hierarchical image segmentation, HSG software, originally developed by NASA for satellite imagery analysis, is now used by Bartron Medical Imaging as a sophisticated diagnostic tool that enhances medical imagery. Military space programs also accelerated civilian technology development through the miniaturization of electronic components. The constraints of space missions demanded smaller, lighter, and more power-efficient electronics. Engineers working on classified reconnaissance satellites had to solve complex problems of fitting advanced technologies into compact packages that could operate in the harsh environment of space. This push for miniaturization directly contributed to the development of smaller, more powerful electronic components in consumer devices. The microprocessors, memory chips, and batteries in modern devices all benefited from innovations originally driven by military space requirements. The transfer of these technologies from classified military applications to everyday consumer products required collaboration between government agencies, research institutions, and private industry. Patents were licensed, research findings were published, and former military engineers brought their expertise to commercial enterprises. The digital revolution that brought us smartphones, online mapping, ubiquitous photography, and global connectivity builds directly on foundations established by classified military space programs. Technologies originally designed to spy on adversaries now connect families, navigate vehicles, capture precious memories, and power countless aspects of modern life. This transformation embodies a remarkable irony. Systems designed for warfare and espionage during one of history's most tense geopolitical standoffs ultimately produce technologies that connect humanity in unprecedented ways. The same innovations that once separated adversaries now bring people together through communication technologies that span the globe. The next time you use your smartphone to navigate to a new location or take a high-resolution photograph, you're benefiting from technologies that trace their lineage directly to those classified space shuttle missions. The Cold War's peaceful dividend now residing in the palm of your hand. The continuing secrets of military space. Those smartphone technologies we rely on daily represent just the declassified tip of a vast military space iceberg. While civilian applications provide tangible benefits from yesterday's classified operations, today's military space activities operate at levels of sophistication that would astonish most people. The capabilities deployed in orbit right now likely make Cold War missions look primitive by comparison. The establishment of the U.S. Space Force in 2019 marked a watershed moment in military space operations. This formal recognition of space as a distinct warfighting domain elevated it alongside traditional theaters like land, sea, air, and cyberspace. The USSF's creation signaled that America's military leadership views space as an environment where conflicts will inevitably unfold, requiring specialized personnel, technologies, and strategic approaches. What was once hidden behind the Iron Curtain of Cold War secrecy has evolved into today's invisible battlefield among the stars. Like chess masters who've moved from wooden pieces to quantum computing, military strategists have transformed their approach to space dominance. This evolution becomes clear when examining vehicles like the X-37B, an unmanned space plane operating in extreme secrecy. Unlike the shuttle program, with its dual civilian-military identity, the X-37B makes no pretense about its classified nature. This reusable robotic craft has completed multiple missions, remaining in orbit for periods exceeding 900 days, far longer than any shuttle mission. The Air Force and Space Force provide only vague descriptions of its activities, typically referring to testing technologies and conducting experiments, but experts believe its capabilities include surveillance, deployment of small satellites, and testing of anti-satellite technologies. The X-37B represents a new paradigm in military space operations. Its ability to maneuver in orbit, change altitude, and return precisely to Earth gives military planners options that fixed satellites cannot match. Most significantly, it can deploy payloads into orbit and then recover them, allowing for testing advanced technologies without leaving them permanently vulnerable to adversary observation. Modern reconnaissance satellites have evolved dramatically beyond the cage. 11 ONYX system deployed during STS-27. Today's classified imaging platforms incorporate multispectral sensors capturing visual, infrared, ultraviolet, and radar data simultaneously. These satellites employ electronic intelligence, ELINT, and signals intelligence, SIGINT, payloads monitoring communications and radar emissions with unprecedented precision. Artificial intelligence now processes the vast quantities of data collected, detecting anomalies, predicting object behavior, and providing real-time intelligence. These systems autonomously identify changes in adversary deployments, detect camouflaged equipment, and predict potential threats before they materialize. Military competition in space has intensified, with the United States, China, and Russia racing to secure advantages in this ultimate high ground. Military strategists recognize that disabling an adversary's space-based infrastructure could effectively blind and paralyze their forces, making space control a prerequisite for victory in major conflicts. This competition has driven development of sophisticated anti-satellite weapons designed to neutralize adversary capabilities in orbit. These range from ground-based missiles to directed energy weapons and electronic warfare systems. Russia's 2021 ASAT test, which created a dangerous debris field, highlighted the real-world risks these capabilities present. Space-based infrastructure is inherently vulnerable. Satellites follow predictable orbits with limited defensive capabilities. Yet, disrupting these systems carries enormous risks, potentially creating cascading debris fields that could render entire orbital regions unusable for decades. One significant change from the shuttle era is the proliferation of commercial satellite imagery, making military space activities increasingly difficult to conceal. Companies now operate constellations of high-resolution satellites that can detect military launch preparations and track movements. This transparency has forced military space planners to adapt their operational security measures. The U.S. military has responded by developing proliferated satellite constellations of hundreds of smaller satellites in multiple orbits. These provide resilience. Individual satellite losses don't compromise the overall system's effectiveness. They're more difficult to attack comprehensively, can be deployed rapidly, and allow for regular technology updates. Modern military operations rely on seamless connectivity between space-based systems and assets across all domains. This integration enables unprecedented coordination, with space systems providing targeting data for precision strikes, communications for deployed forces, and navigation for unmanned systems. Nuclear space propulsion and power systems may revolutionize military capabilities, offering dramatic increases in efficiency and mission duration. These technologies could enable unprecedented maneuverability for military spacecraft, allowing rapid orbit changes and previously impossible missions. Advanced manufacturing techniques are similarly transformative. Additive manufacturing has already improved spacecraft design with more complex, lighter components. Future applications could include in-orbit fabrication of replacement parts or entire spacecraft components, extending mission durations and providing unmatched operational flexibility. What remains unseen may be even more significant. Military analysts believe classified space programs likely include capabilities for proximity operations, on-orbit servicing of classified assets, and systems designed to temporarily disable adversary satellites without creating debris. The strategic ambiguity surrounding these programs serves military purposes. When potential adversaries cannot be certain of capabilities, they must prepare for a wider range of contingencies. Space exploration has always occupied a unique position at the intersection of scientific discovery and geopolitical power. The Space Shuttle program exemplified this duality, serving as both a vessel of human curiosity and an instrument of military strategy. Missions like STS-27 highlight how deeply intertwined these purposes became during the Cold War, with scientific advancements often masking intelligence operations.